Hello, YouTube family. Well, not just YouTube family, but internet family. I always mean to say that because if I share the videos on another channel, I don't want to leave people out. Anyway, I'm doing another video, trying to keep up. So, what I want to talk about today was prompted by the memory of a call I received from an elder in my childhood congregation that I grew up in after I had moved out to California. This was an elder I grew up with. We were very close in age. I think he was a couple years older than me. And I was good friends with his wife too. And I remember he called me, which really shocked me, pleading with me to come back to the organization. And one thing he said to me was, "You were happy. I know you were happy. I could see you were happy." And I said to him, I was happy with my friends. I enjoyed my friends and being with them. And yeah, I had good times. However, that happiness was relative. And I told him, I was on 2 mood stabilizers. One for anxiety, the other one for clinical depression. And I was seeing a psychologist before I had actually moved out here to California. So, and all of that was not because I was so happy. And I obviously wasn't. But the fact that I wasn't happy in the organization or satisfied in the organization manifested itself in other ways other than medications and seeing a therapist. It was like I was constantly doing things to try and fulfill that thing in me that needed to feel like I was doing something useful in life. And that started with, like, back in high school, one of our English teachers, Mr. Rush, he had 2 disabled children, and he used to encourage or recruit students to volunteer for the Special Olympics. And so one year I did, and this was, of course, after I had my license, so I think it was probably 17 the first time I did it. And I volunteered to work the Special Olympics. Back in those days, in the early 80s, they called the people that assisted the athletes, they called us huggers. Of course, that became non-PC, so they stopped using that. But basically what our job was, we were assigned to an athlete, and our job was to get them to and from all their events, to cheer them on. Win or lose, we cheered them on. We told them what a good job they did, and to give them a big hug to let them know we appreciated them at the end of their event. And I did that. I started that in high school, and I continued it like a couple years once I graduated. And of course the games were usually on a Saturday, which meant missing service. Not that I mind it. But okay. So, I did that. It was so I could fulfill that thing in me that wanted to actually help people. Then, I'm trying to go through what else I did. The next thing I did was I signed up to be a volunteer EMT at the local volunteer fire station. And I had to take classes, of course, to become certified. And I enjoyed doing that. And I did that for a couple of years. But I stopped, not because I didn't enjoy it. I loved it. It was like every time the tones went down on the, what do you call that thing? Scanner. And I had to get into my car and rush to the fire station and get in the uniform. I love that. I love that. And knowing that I was going and helping people. I loved it. Only reason I stopped doing the volunteer ring at the fire station was because, excuse me, the guilt started to take over. Because you're supposed to be completely satisfied as a Jehovah's Witness with doing Jehovah's work. Sorry, rolling my eyes. But like I said, I just did not get satisfaction completely from that. And even though I kind of enjoyed service, I just never looked at it as helping people. And now I'm sitting here trying to think, what did I think of service as? I know I thought of it as a duty, something that we had to do to quote unquote save people's lives, but I just never felt like we were actually helping people. And especially when you see some of the people that you talk to out in the ministry, and you would see how poor they were or things they needed, and yet the congregation never helped those people, not like a church would. A regular church, they would see to those people's needs, of course, while trying to indoctrinate them. But at least if the people needed food, they try to get them food. If they needed clothing, they try to get them clothing. But the witnesses never helped people like that. And maybe that's why I felt like we weren't really helping people, and that something was lacking, and why I always felt the need to find something else to fill that. My next stint, I think it was after I moved to Florida. I was working at Clearwater, at the Clearwater campus of St. Petersburg College, and I started taking classes, and I got into oh my god, five I can't remember what it is. It's one of those Greek groups. What is wrong with me? I can't remember. And I even have my t-shirts still from the group. But anyway, I don't think it was the scholarship secretary, but anyway, or officer. But the officer that I was responsible for making sure that we did all our community service stuff. I remember I set up that we would cook for the local Ronald McDonald House. We did that a couple times. I set up a trip to Orlando where we were going to work at the International Indian Powwow, which I hate that word, Indian. Indigenous or Native Americans. So we did that. So that was my job, to constantly come up with things for us to do to help the community. And I loved doing that. I love setting stuff up. I think the biggest thing that I ever worked on was the job fair that the college always had. And that was a huge job to get that together. Because it was a campus-wide event, and I did so well at it that the other campuses followed my blueprint for setting it up. Not to brag, but yeah. And I enjoyed that. Anything where I felt like I was helping people. And even there, at the college, I worked in the career center and helping people pick their careers and decide what they want to do, and to look at master's programs and all, and that made me feel good, because I know I was helping people to do something that was going to improve on their lives. But at the same time, when I was doing that, it just kind of showed me what I was missing out on in life. And that I was supposed to just be satisfied with the fact that I was worshiping true God and that I would have a future in paradise. Which, side note, I always I just could never see myself in paradise. Not really. Because you know how they would constantly tell you, if you were raised a witness or if you were in the that they would tell you to see yourself in paradise to help make it real. And I just could never see myself there. And I don't know why. Or if I saw myself there, I was always in my nice cabin on the top of a mountain and not surrounded by other people. Because honestly, I want to be around them. And I guess this video is just to say that being a witness, going out in service, putting off everything to the future constantly was enough for some people, but for me it wasn't. I was a person who always needed to feel like I was actually making a tangible difference in somebody's life or helping to improve the world and knocking on doors and talking to people about a religion, and that just didn't do it for me. So I wasn't satisfied and I wasn't really happy. And it makes me wonder, because there were so many friends that were taking antidepressants or anti-anxiety or antipsychotic meds. So many. And I mean, if you have a group of people that's just truly happy in that the Bible and the organization and Jehovah is a be-all, end-all of everything happy and fulfilling and satisfying and whatever, why were so many witnesses taking mental health meds? There has to be a reason for that. There has to be. And it can't be that they were all so happy or that it was just imperfection. I refuse to believe that it was just because we're imperfect. No way. I think if people were actually being fulfilled in life, truly fulfilled, it wouldn't be so prevalent within that organization. But anyway, that was just a thought that I had for today. Tell me your experiences. Were you completely happy, completely fulfilled when you were in there? I'm just curious to know. But yeah. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. I'll do my best to put out another video next week. And you all take care of yourselves. Peace.
This poem was written while attending a circuit assembly. I was feeling like a failure, and I was not happy with my life at the time. I have quite a few more poems. Maybe I will share more of them in the future. Thank you for watching my video. Please like and subscribe.